What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Bobby Fye, Eric Sheetsaber. We're going to be talking through this MLB slate. We are at the conference finals now. It was a really, really brutal game yesterday between OKC and Denver. If you're a Denver, root for Denver. But the big news is Sheets took down the alley-oop again. So we'll let Sheets talk a little bit about that and talk about what happened over the weekend. I did not have a good golf week. I had a chance to win the $100 single entry until Rom literally fell apart at the very end. But that was a little frustrating. But we're ready to get back to it with some major MLB this week. Sheets, talk a little bit about the win and your weekend.
Yeah, well, the alley-oop was really nothing. I mean, I put in my projections, I fired it up, and it just won by a billion points. I have no idea how or why or whatever it was. Turns out, and when they pulled everybody out of the game, the only guy that was – I wasn't worried too much about the scrubs in the alley-oop. You know what I mean? If I had, like, the lottery, I'd be worried that somebody had him. But, like, the guy who was in second, Dink Piece, he had Strother, but he was so far behind. I mean, he had to make up, like, 16 points with 6 minutes of playing time with Strother, and that wasn't happening. So so that worked out really nicely. Golf was, as you mentioned, pretty bad. The Rom thing was so interesting. So then on Saturday night, I was at dinner with some friends, and they were looking at their phones, and they said, "So Eric, you can get 25 to 1 on Rom." And I said, "Okay, so what does he got to do?" Right? He says he's got to make up 5 strokes and hold off other people. Right? I said, one thing I promise you is the odds are really probably more like 40 to 1. And then we just started like talking about like what the odds are of being able to make up 5 strokes on anybody, like whatever it was. So we went on to talk about other things. And of course, I get this text in the middle of the day from my friend. He says, "Oh, we should have bet Rom." I wasn't even watching, so I presumed that he had made a run when I saw that.
Yeah,
and he was literally tied when I saw that. And then is almost like it's completely top ticked. When I looked at that, he gave up 8 strokes back after that, and it's just freaking those last 3 holes. I mean, first of all, it cost like one guy like $1 million in the freaking in the lottery. Yeah. The guy was like 99% to win, pretty much. Like the only way he loses if Rom goes like 5 under for the last like 3 holes or something like that. And so that was bad for him. Aside from that, I'm just kind of ready to get after baseball today and got Survivor stuff. I got a lot of things going on in the background, so if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen, I can get it going.
Yeah, I'm just going to, real quick, I'll just go through.
Hold on. We're ready to do Survivor. I'll share my screen, so I'll pull the thing up. But first of all,
for what it's worth, Detroit and St. Louis, it looks like a pretty questionable game today, and Cleveland and Minnesota looks questionable. So this big-ish slate is becoming smaller by the minute potentially. The Minnesota one looks really bad, and that might even be postponed before we even get to anywhere near lock. We'll be live at 5:30, but for what it's worth, that Cleveland, Minnesota, Detroit, and St. Louis, and those are the ones that we're a little worried about there. So, good afternoon to Robert Davis in the chat and everyone else out there. With that said, I'm going to share my screen and we'll go game by game. I guess we'll talk through the Minnesota thing. I think it's pointless because it's I don't think that one's playing anyway. But we'll talk about it when it comes up.
Which one? Yeah. Wait. So which of the games that are probably dead here?
Detroit, St. Louis. Well, Detroit, St. Louis is a questionable one. The Cleveland, Minnesota looks really bad. Yeah, Roth says it's unlikely to play. He's got it orange red for Roth. Shout out to Roth.
Well, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I don't need any orange red, especially in a game that it's not like all that appealing anyway. Well, my take on this slate, by the way, every pitcher looks basically like the same. Like there's no real standouts of guys who you have to have or anything. So I'm gonna try and see if I can find something along the way. Yeah, Robert says he lives in Missouri and it's going to storm all even afternoon and evening. I think so. But St. Louis has got a better chance than the other one for sure. So anyway, Houston and Tampa Bay, Pepio and Colton Gordon. Sheets, anything for you here?
I mean, I saw Pepio as a very, very like marginal second tier option. Like that's really all that I got from that. Did I miss anything or?
No, I don't think necessarily. I think it's 86 degrees there, and you've got a young, inexperienced lefty who, on a very mediocre Houston team. I think Pepio and Tampa Bay make a little bit of sense in this one. I think Tampa Bay is kind of interesting.
Okay.
just a little bit, sometimes you have to worry about some pinch hit stuff with them, but I'll double check. I'm not even sure that's necessarily the case quite as much as it used to be. It's not like a powerhouse lineup, but hey, I'll take some Tampa Bay and Pepio. That sounds pretty good to me. All right, Seattle at the White Sox, and this is you said it's going to be a tough week in Survivor. I think we'll get into it, I guess, after this. But I'm guessing this is going to be one of the teams that people use. Seattle and Castillo and Martin. Martin, by the way, who of all the bad pitchers for the White Sox is probably like, I don't know if I could say he's the least bad, but he's not quite as horrendous as some of the other ones. Anyway, I have a little bit in Castillo, a little bit of interest in the White Sox. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, I'm getting Castillo a little more on FanDuel for some reason than on DraftKings. I have him as like the top rated option on FanDuel, and at DraftKings not as much. I have him like 4th or 5th, something like that. And Seattle, I have them as a pretty. I try to narrow it down when we talk on this show to maybe like 5 or 6 stacks. And Seattle's one of them on both DraftKings and FanDuel. And by the way, I neglected to mention that Tampa. Sorry about that. I do have them on DraftKings and actually both of them actually as pretty strong stacks. I wasn't watching when you were talking about Tampa. Yeah. So yeah, I do have Tampa as a top option on both, and Seattle as a top option on both as well.
Yeah, and I mentioned with the Tampa game, you have the 86-degree weather. It is cold in Chicago. No shot. I mean, well, whatever. It's either really hot or really cold, I guess. It's actually not that cold. It's 53 degrees. And their winds are sort of a crosswind, so nothing to really gauge from that. But take it, like as I mentioned, Davis Martin certainly been the most capable of these guys, but definitely has blowups in his range. So I'm good. I'm okay with taking some shots at Seattle. Also, everything is a huge park upgrade for Seattle. I always like that. All right, Cleveland, Minnesota. If it were to play, I think we would be talking a little bit about Bailey Ober and potentially Logan Allen, but I don't see any need for myself to get over invested. Maybe I can revisit this one later, but I'm probably going to go with 0 in this game. Also, I don't love the idea of taking pictures against Cleveland, even though Ober's a good pitcher and probably one of the better pitchers on the slate, and not really interested in the stacks either. So kind of a cross off for me.
I agree with you. First of all, with respect to Ober, Ober I would actually like a little bit if the game plays. So we have to watch for that. I have him. Where would I have him? Maybe like 3rd or 4th if the game plays. So if the game is in serious danger, I'm just have to continue to take a look at it. That's all.
Yep. And I'm crossing everybody off. That's how confident I feel. I'm not going to cross off everyone in the St. Louis game yet, but I feel pretty sure about this one. Even if it plays, I would like I like anything I can do to tweak. Again, I talked about how I was going to rely more on projections. Well, if I'm going to rely more on projections, I'm going to be more aggressive in taking whatever stands I can just to differentiate. You like to do your 5-man only stacks and things like that. I'm going to try and find other ways to tweak things because it's been a rough start to the bait. Well, I've had some ups and downs. It was a bad last month and a half for baseball. Really good first month. Anyway, Baltimore and Milwaukee. We've got Kremer and Priester. Sheets, is this a potential? I don't know, 3-pronger. What do you see here?
I just have I just have Baltimore. Okay. That's really all I have. Who are they playing?
They're playing Milwaukee.
I'm not getting any of that. I'm just getting Baltimore and only specifically on FanDuel actually. I'm not really getting to too much of them on DraftKings. What do you like here?
I feel like look, there's going to be a lot of overlooked stuff on this slate because there's some pretty obvious hitting spots. I feel like this is one of them, and I think that Baltimore is certainly one, and Milwaukee. I wouldn't like eliminate. I wouldn't like say to SaberSim, hey, why am I getting 50% Milwaukee? Like,
right.
I feel like this is like completely viable. It's just, it's not at the top tier for me, but certainly don't mind it. And Milwaukee is a pretty good hitter's park, especially for lefties, and you have cheap Orioles and pretty cheap Brewers as well. So I actually think both stacks make a little bit of sense, even though Priester hasn't been. He's had like to be honest, he's had quite a few blow up games. I think it's interesting. I think Baltimore especially, but a little bit of Milwaukee wouldn't bother me. We all know I'm on a slate that's going to turn into being pretty small, possibly. I'm certainly not going to stack the best team tonight, so which is going to be Philly. But anyway,
how many games overall are on the slate?
I think there's 9, and it's going to turn in. Is that right? I thought there was 9. Yeah,
9 maybe turning into 7. You're saying
9 with potential to turn into 7 or 8. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, with respect to like construction and stuff, I mean, we could talk about this a little bit. I mean, for those of you that don't really come here all the time, I mean, the lower things go, you know, the less pure you have to be with your lineups. You know, you don't have to build as many 5-mans. You don't have to use all your salary and things like that. You know, you're not playing pitchers against hitters yet, but there is a difference between a full 10, 11 game slate and a 7-game slate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you could start doing some different things. All right, let's jump back. Okay, so we have Gray and Montero. If this game were to go, this game looks better than the other one does. I don't think I want anything in this game anyway, personally.
Sonny Gray's not showing up as a good option for you?
I don't like taking pitch. As I keep mentioning, I think this Detroit team is much better than everybody gives them credit for. And that's my reason. And Sonny Gray, look, it's fine, but every pitcher is similar. He is coming off of his, actually, it's coming off of 2 out of his last 3. He's been absolutely horrendous. I don't personally want to mess with this. But I mean, the Tigers, like, it may not have like name value of these guys being scary, but they've been really good. And I don't know. For me personally,
I wasn't trying to sway you. I'm just saying. I might look at my at this part of the day, I literally just look at projections and whatever and see what. And it looks as though Gray is just projecting like one of the better options. That's the only reason I mentioned.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really popular. So my first thinking was, okay, he's going to be really popular. Easy, I'll just click the fade button on this one with the weather concerns. I like other stuff better. He's one of those many pitchers, but yeah, you and Goldie haven't got him. I think you guys are right. I think he's going to be a lot more on than he's projected if the game were a clean go. Look, and not this smaller slate because there's Coors and there's Dodgers and A's are playing at home. But I think that you'd be looking at, like, I don't know. I could talk myself into a contrarian Detroit in the lottery type of deal. That's pretty much all I have here.
Yeah.
It is the $5 lottery, so I am playing the 150 today, which I don't usually do. Here's an interesting situation. Is it possible that the highest owned pitcher ends up actually coming from a game in Coors again? I think it is. So
sorry. So these types of games, these types of situations like always annoy me. When you can have one team being the best stack in part because of like the great park, and yet at the same time have the best pitcher from the game too. I mean, again, it is a testament to how bad Colorado is. Nonetheless, I mean, that's what we're getting. I mean, we're getting Philadelphia's top stack and Sanchez is the best pitcher. At least that's the way I'm getting. But again, more on DraftKings than FanDuel. Like I have Sanchez rated number 1 on DraftKings, and on FanDuel I have him rated just kind of tied with Gray for second and third behind Castillo. But Philly certainly looks like the best stack. I mean, I don't know what else to say except they're going to be popular, like you said.
They're going to be popular. It's 60 degrees with 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from left center, which negates a little bit of the Coors effect. Doesn't change everything. And they're extremely expensive, Philadelphia. It's going to be hard to get them in. Like they've got 3 guys at 5,900 or more, plus Castellanos is 5,200 and Real Muto's 5K and Edmund Sosa's 4.4 and their 9 hitters. Rojas is 4.3. It's hard to get them in. They're not going to be as high owned as you think. That's all I can say. But so I'm actually not going to cross out my 5-mans of Philly. I was going to, but I'm looking at the ownership and I just think it's going to be tough to get them in. Like, you just can't play 3 guys at 6K and then have a lineup. You need some one. Now, maybe if they, what happens if they end up with like a different catcher or giving Real Muto day off, and somebody who's like 2K comes into the mix, then they end up being really popular. But if not, I don't think they're going to be that popular. And it's still going to be popular. Don't get me wrong, but like 15 to 20% is very different than 25 to 30%, which I think they would have been on this slate. And I do like Sanchez even in Colorado. Now, it's not a great place for people who throw off speed stuff, but the matchup is a little too good for me to ignore. So I have a little interest in Sanchez. All right, Kansas City and San Francisco. In San Francisco.
Yeah, so I wasn't getting to anything from this game, but Kansas City stinks, you know, and they also, if I'm not mistaken, they are probably, I think, one of the worst, if not the worst, against lefties. And like one of the only righties on the team, Salvador Perez, is like worse than them all, maybe.
Well, they have a ton of righties. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, I know that. I know.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, that's what I had heard, that they're particularly awful against lefties. And I'm not getting a Robbie Ray, but why wouldn't I? I don't quite understand. So I'm currently not getting anything from this game, but I could certainly be talked into it.
I like both pitchers.
There you go.
They're a little more expensive.
That was easy.
Yeah, I think they're both really good options. I've always been a little bit of always whatever. I've been a Bubic guy. Robbie Ray certainly has a ceiling, and he's been over 24 games in a row. The only issue is they're kind of expensive and they're hard to play with Philly. All the more reason that they won't be crazy high owned. So I'm in on Bubic and Ray, and not getting to the bats. If I had to pick one side, it would be San Francisco, but I think there's just too many other good hitting spots for me to tempt fate with this one. How about the Angels coming off of a 3-game sweep of my Dodgers?
Baseball's a funny game, isn't it?
It's a funny game, and also like literally nobody cares at all about the Angels. Like, I mean, I was looking at they were showing teams versus their quote unquote rivals or whatever. So like the Dodgers, their rival, their only the rivals was San Francisco and then San Diego. For the San Diego was everybody's the Dodgers basically in the NL West, but the Dodgers had won like something like 30 out of the last 35 against the Angels, but that was then they got smoked this weekend. So getting Soriano, I think this is a great spot just to go for the bats here and on both sides. That's this is my other, probably I don't know if it's my favorite. I guess it's my favorite overall game to stack. I think that I'm interested in both sides.
Who, the Dodgers, you mean?
No, the A's and Angels.
Yeah, I have the Angels. This is really weird. So I have the Angels on DraftKings as one of the top options, actually, alongside of the of Tampa. But I'm not getting them on FanDuel for some reason. Maybe they're just more expensive over there. But yeah,
I'm looking. I haven't double checked all the pricing, but yeah, I guess maybe because they don't have like the obvious like, okay, we have to play these kind of guys and all this. Like I don't know honestly what the reason is. But I do like them, and I like the A's. I think the A's are the better side.
That's cool. That's cool.
The A's have a big run total. I don't exactly know why they're not getting.
Yeah, I know. I might end up getting them. Maybe I'll run a build afterwards. Maybe I'll get there.
Soriano's very hit or miss. Like he has like those really good strong games, and then he other games where he can't find the strike zone. So I'll take a shot with the A's. The problem with the A's is sometimes not finding the strike zone doesn't help because they just keep swinging. But I think this is a good spot to maybe flag plant and then make your decisions at 10 Eastern or whatever it is. All right. We have the other big spot, I think, for bats. No one's playing Fott, no one's playing Linden Neck, and you got two great offenses in LA and 70. It's warm. It's 75 degrees and it's 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. That's why the big part of the reason for the big total, a 10 total. And the only thing I'll say about this is that would give me some pause is that I know I've been on this train maybe more than other people have, but I don't think Fott is very bad. And he's faced the Dodgers enough here. I'm just going to take a look at his numbers versus us. Yeah, they've hit him pretty good. He's also got a pretty good strikeout rate against them, which is kind of surprising. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I think that both of these stacks make a lot of sense. I hate to sound like a broken record, but it feels like the last four 4 stacks are my 4 favorites, along with Tampa Bay. What do you think, Sheets?
Yep, I have both of these teams as good options on both sites. So as you said, I'd play both of them and look for one of those. Look for one of those 10-8ers. I think that this is the obvious. I think the semi-obvious pivot off of Philly to play both of these guys. And alongside, if you want to play Tampa, the Angels, we talked about them also. I think those are pretty strong options.
Yeah, so just to touch on what I was saying, so like the Dodgers lead the league in scoring, the Yankees are second just by a 100th of a point. The Cubs are just barely behind the Yankees. Then you get a pretty big gap, and it goes down to Detroit and Arizona. I think Detroit has probably beaten their spread the most this year, which is partly why I wouldn't want to mess with the Sonny Gray stuff. But yeah, these are 2 top 5 offenses, and not exactly ace pitchers on the mound. Although again, I've seen Thought be decent at times. So yeah, I think that's where we have it. Like I do like I like the last 4 stacks. And I like my other favorite would be Tampa Bay, or to get off the board, maybe Baltimore. But Pepio, Sanchez, Robbie Ray, Bubic, those are my main pitchers. And did I miss anyone? Oh, Castillo's in the mix too, but he's a little further down for me. I don't know what is my thing with Castillo. For some reason, I just never seem to want to play him. Anything else, Cheats, before we talk about some Survivor?
Yeah, no, I don't have anything. Why don't you let me
Yep.
Let me share my screen here, and then we will get into this. So you mentioned a team that you thought was going to be live. I don't think they're live at all. I think there's really only 2 teams we can play. It's like so ridiculous, though.
Okay.
We'll take a look at it. Okay. So first, we'll talk about the teams you mentioned, whoever was playing the White Sox to start off with. I mean, we'll go down to them for a second. The team that plays the White Sox to start off with then follows it up with, I think, road games.
At the Astros, and there are all road games. That's not
yeah. But check this out. So let's go through this from the top of the list. So let's start over. We need to find a team that is going to win at least half of their games, and a team that we have not played before. So the rules are we have to play a team we haven't played. The guidelines are that we'd love to play teams that only play even number of games because it's simply easier to go 3-3 than it is to go 4-3. Also, obviously, it would be nice to play home games, but again, that's all factored into whether they're supposed to win or not. And it's also nice to save teams for the future if they're really good. And we're going to run into a problem with that, but we'll get there. Let's try to find teams to play, and then you'll see why it's really hard. So we're going to start off with the Tigers. They have number 1, they have 7 games, and number 2, their first 3 on the road, and then 4 at home against Cleveland. They're no bargain either. Okay, so you don't want the 7 games, and the play seems kind of fishy, right? But hold on for a minute. So you have the Dodgers, and I'll tell you this: that if I was going to play the Dodgers anyway, it probably wouldn't be this setup, Yeah. So that's no good. Mets, I'm not playing them 3 at home against the Dodgers. That's no good. Yeah. So then you get to the first option, which is the Phillies. They violate like 2 of the rules, but they have, because they have 7 games. They're all on the road, but they're probably going to win them all. You know what I mean? So it's really, really, it's a very, very tough thing to not play them when you see what else we have available. Okay. So hold on to these Phillies for a second. It would be nice to get their 3 out of 4 in Colorado and be kind of done with it. Right. So what else do we have? So we have Padres with 6 road games, including 3 at Atlanta, and you don't know what that's going to look like. Right.
Right.
And 3 at Blue Jays. Then you got the Cubs with 6 road games.
I think we've used the Cubs.
And we used the Cubs, right? Yeah. San Francisco would be an amazing option, except we used them. Okay? Mm-hmm. Then you have the Yankees, who normally I would say you hold on to them, but I think that they're just probably the best play this week.
Right there, it looks like they are. We could probably keep looking.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about if we play anybody else, but so far, no. You have the Mariners. Okay. We've talked. Listen, they got 3 games at White Sox, which is, I'd rather them home against the White Sox, but sure, that's fine. But then you want to have to deal with 4 at Houston? Probably not, right?
Yeah, that's not ideal.
You got the Twins. I mean, do we use the Twins anyway? I don't think so.
The
But
Twins haven't lost, as you would say, since the Eisenhower administration. They're on
so they're actually doing well right now.
No, they're like did they lose yesterday? Let me just double check because they've won like I think they've won like 13 in a row.
So they're actually, I guess, kind of in play then. I didn't even realize they were any good.
Yeah.
So they have 3 at home against the Guardians and 3 at home against KC, but we might get Reagan's.
And you got a potential for a rain out and a doubleheader, which just a little bit more variance.
And that's a little more variance than I'd like also.
Yeah.
St. Louis, no thanks. Tigers and Diamondbacks, right?
Yeah.
And now we're into the bad teams already. You got the Guardians with 7 road games against the 2 hottest teams in the league. You got the Royals 6 road games. They're going to win one of them.
Yeah.
You got Arizona at Dodgers. Good luck. Then you have the Astros 7 games.
Yeah, that's
no good. Rangers. No, I mean, you're not going to go into New York and play them in Survivor. Atlanta. I mean, they got 3 games to the Padres. That's your home games. I mean,
yeah, that's the rest.
And then you got the Reds have 3 against the Cubs. The Red Sox 7 games, including Mets. Blue Jays 3 against the Padres, then on the road. Brewers 7 games for openers.
God, this is a tough one.
The A's, the Devil Rays.
Well, the Phillies. Oh, okay.
The Angels. Hold on, let's go through all these, right? Angels, no good, right? Well, maybe. Yeah. Hold on. Angels, maybe now. The Nationals, Braves, and Giants. Miami, no thanks. Orioles, 7 road games. Pirates, no. You know what I mean? Like, what do you end up playing the White Sox in Colorado? I mean, who are you going to play? So now I challenge us to go back. So I want you to find me something better than the Phillies or the Yankees. That's the goal. Because I'll do it.
I don't like the Phillies for what it's worth. My God. We already used. Let's see.
Twins.
I mean, I think that it's going to be Twins and Yankees with some Phillies that people used. I think Phillies will probably be 3rd in terms of most popular.
What do you think? Right?
Can you scroll down just a tiny bit again?
Yeah, sure.
If there's any of these other teams that I can even justify, like
feel free to do what you got to do. Find me somebody. I'll play them.
I wish that the Rangers were at full strength health-wise because I would consider that. I would consider gambling on that when get no ownership on them. And you sort of then are also going against the team that everyone's picking, the Yankees. You know what I mean? So even if they got 1 against the Yankees, hopefully they get 2 against the White Sox. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Yankees, but what if they got 2 against the Yankees and people play the Yankees this week, which is very possible because that's what I think people are going to do. So I like the sort of contrarian nature of it, but it's a gamble. All road games, not full strength, no Seager. Ugh, it's not pretty. It's just really tough, Sheets. You were not kidding.
Yep. I mean, just take the Yankees, I guess.
I think so. Shoot, but we're gonna end up with eating the chalk again. Everybody's gonna be playing the same way.
You think so? Yeah. I mean,
everybody's gonna play the Yankees
unless you want to try the Twins.
I mean, they've won 100 in a row. I said the same thing when the last week started, and they won all those games.
How good is Cleveland?
Cleveland's okay. They're pretty good. And the Royals, as much as we talk shit on them because they should be, we think they should be better. They've historically been pretty good.
You still have to deal with the Bubic and Reagans, right? I mean, like.
But also the Twins. Twins are, even though they're on this crazy winning streak, they're missing like 2 of their best hitters. With Buxton and I don't know when Buxton and is he back? Actually, he might have come back. Let me just double check because it does make a difference. No, I don't think he is back. No, he's on the injured list. Buxton and Correa, right? Yeah, that's rough. I mean, hey, at least they got 6 at home, but they
Who?
might.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
They're always live. They're always live for a rainout, though.
They are live for a rainout, which would mean a doubleheader, which is just again increases a little bit of variance, and also there's always a chance that it rains out again, and you might end up. What if you don't get all of them, and then you're playing 5, and then you're in real trouble. So then you got to win 3 out of 5, which is harder to do than 4 out of 7.
So you don't like the Phillies because you'd rather save them, or you just think they're dangerous to play? I mean,
I think the A's are pretty good.
Okay.
And 7 road games. Now you do have the Rockies. You know what? I guess it has to be one of the Phillies, Twins, or Yankees.
Right. Well, okay. Which one?
I thought the Texas thing was kind of creative, but it's probably a little too creative.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting off probably 1 and 2. You know, like.
But if not, and somehow they get 2 out of 3 from the Yankees.
Then they're obviously they're home free. I mean,
well, no, but then you don't have to. Then you have the Yankees on top of it. You lose half the survivor pool because
that's thinking. Okay, so if that's actually really, really sharp. So that's something I'll listen to.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So here's a question: do we get DeGrom somehow?
Let me just check out the Texas rotation.
They have to have DeGrom playing at Yankee Stadium. There's just no way.
So let me just see. I have to figure out who.
Not that he's so good or anything, but still.
No, but I mean, he is effective.
But DeGrom coming back to New York. This is
Eovaldi pitches. I mean, they've got this is a good starting pitching outside of well.
And if it matters, I'm actually going tomorrow. So.
Oh my God.
So I can look at the Rangers.
Let me just see something. I have to see who won the last game, and it's DK Live is not working for me. Why is that happening here? Let me just see really quick who started the last game for the Rangers, because this should answer. This should at least answer that part of it for us. Oh God, DK Live. All right. Sorry, it's not working on there. It's just not working. Okay. I'm gonna need another second real quick. Let me just try this another way. This is so weird. Usually I have all these little tools, and this is not helping. MLB scores, and I think it is gonna be.
I think you hit the nail right on the head, man. Listen. Let's say they even get swept by the Yankees. We're still alive, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I just want to know who their rotation is. The problem is, it just feels so weird to do it without Seager, but. Like we said, they haven't been so great anyway. You know, their offense has been pretty bad all season. So it's just been you're betting on the pitching to some extent. But what the French is going on? I cannot figure out where this team last played. All right, so let's see who played on Saturday then. Jesus. Rangers. Okay. So Molly pitched Saturday, which means I think you get one. Well, you get one of what's his name? You get one of DeGrom, or I mean, honestly, Eovaldi's been their best pitcher.
But if we're gonna get Eovaldi and DeGrom, I mean, that's got to be good enough, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, even if you just look at it in a week like that, you have Molly, DeGrom, Eovaldi, and then you hope one game your bats can win for you on top of it. So I kind of like it. They're all at home, and it does get the contrarian thing, and also has the Yankees, who are going to be the most popular, on the other side. I think it's interesting, Sheets. I think we should do it, but we have to embrace the variance. We have to know that we could be done. We're going against the field.
All right, let's do it. We'll take the Rangers.
No one's going to pick them.
Yep, we're done.
I love it. We finally got it creative, at least. At least we can go out with our heads high if we lose.
Yep. Let me just see something. Let me just make sure I have the right week. Hold on. Pick history. Cubs. Okay. All right. Sounds good.